Good evening. Welcome everyone to this evening's Poem Jam, our special edition. I'm John Smalley, a librarian here at the main library in the Humanities Department on the third floor. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our community and to tell you about a few upcoming programs. On behalf of the Public Library, we wish to welcome you to the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place. As guests, we who reside in their traditional territory recognize that we benefit from living and working on their homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. As you probably know, next month, April, is National Poetry Month, and we'll be celebrating that with 6 or 7, actually 8 programs, I think, here in the main library, most of them taking place in this room. And that will involve a couple poem jams, some additional poetry readings, a poetry workshop, a couple films, a reading with San Francisco's Youth Poet Laureates. So I'm hoping you will come to some of those events in April. And you can see all the events listed on this letter-sized flower, which is on the table to your right. If any of you are here for the first time, we have Kim Shuck's Poem Jam the second Thursday of each month. If you want to learn more about our programs, you can pick up a flyer from the table on your right, where you will also find coffee and cookies, and also a limited edition of the Poem Jam pin. And what else is there? Our newsletters, flyers for upcoming events. You can also learn more about our upcoming events by going to our website, sfpl.org, and consulting the events calendar there. One more thing I want to mention right now, in the month of March through April, we have a special exhibit on the third floor, a book display honoring the Poet Laureates of San Francisco. That's next to the reference desk at the Humanities Center. I think that's all I want to say. So without further ado, I want to turn the microphone over to our host of the long-running Poem Jam series. Please give a warm welcome to Kim Shuck.
Well, looks like the poets invited their friends. That's always very satisfying. I had gotten an email from a friend asking me if I would do, or suggesting that I do a reading featuring poets from this book. And then I took a look at it and thought, why, yes, that would be excellent. Had several very good friends in it. It's always good to have an excuse to gather them around. And it just, you could hardly miss having a seriously fantastic reading out of this book. So I've indulged myself and invited a bunch of people who I love to come read for you tonight. Apparently, if you buy this book off of the website, gunpowderpress.com, they're donating $5 for each one to Planned Parenthood. I get that right? For the whole month of March. So that is an excellent way to acquire one of these fabulous books, should you find yourself wanting to do that. I'm going to kick right into it. Our first reader is Evelyn Jean Pine, who is a poet, a playwright, a performer, and a Playground June Ann Baker Prize winner. I don't know about you, these prize names are getting long and ponderous. It's almost like the subtitle for Victorian literary commentary. The award we're in, you know. Anyway, congratulations. Her play Freeloader In the House of Love won the most compelling story prize at Boulder Fringe. The Invisible Project, co-written with Katia Rivera, launched the Latinx Mafia staged reading series. Her short opera, Nada, written with Norwegian composer Tse Young Ho, premiered at Strange Trace Opera's Stencil Festival. Her comedy, Seven Secrets of Teaching Online. I don't usually foul up reading aloud this badly. Developed during a 2020 playground residency and was the hit of Theater 33's 2022 New Works Festival. Please welcome to this microphone, Evelyn Jean Pine.
Thanks. It's so good to see you all. Yeah, I'm also in love with this book, though, and have made my way through it slowly, poem by poem, poet by poet. But what's funny is every once in a while, I'll get an email from someone who I encourage to buy the book, and they'll mention, I was transformed by such and such a poem, and I'll think, wait, did I read that? And then I'll either read or reread it and be transformed by it as well. So I really, really recommend this anthology. It is terrific. The first poem I'm going to read is the one in the book, just to honor the editors and all the women here, and also the public library that had a fabulous exhibit here a few months ago about skateboarding. This is called The Skater Lusts, and it's an ode to Ripley Street right here in San Francisco. If I were a skateboarder, I would come, jizz on my pants as I looked at that hill. Hands and feet vibrating, my throat is numb. The grade, the angle, a battle of will. The fourth steepest street in San Francisco, taunting me with its magnificent lift, seductive as the goddess Calypso. Her body offered a dangerous gift. I could bomb this menace for 7 years, crouching low as a wolf, mounting his prey, pushing aside my doubts and my fears. Terror and triumph are slamming today. I lied. I wheeze as I hoof down Ripley Street. The truth is daunting, but the lust, so sweet. Thank you. And the other thing that I realized pretty much on my way here is that soon it will be spring. So I thought an ode to spring is appropriate. And this is called, which I think, considering the past months, an appropriate title. It's called Reborn in Spring. Airy and open, an empty garbage bag, pure white, with a red plastic tie, like something Santa might tote, if I believed in Santa, lifts in the April breeze, floating leisurely over my unwashed Buick LeSabre, the car which I ceremoniously dubbed Rusty, surveying the dangling tailpipe, the shredded roof, the broken headlight. That garbage bag, graceful and uncharacteristically pristine, circles the LeSabre as if the bag has the strength and resilience to raise the car in the wind. But Rusty, staring straight ahead, unmoved, obsessed with our failures, fails to notice. But I do. Watching the soaring plastic drift and glide, I worship the wind for its willingness to list everything and anything it can. Make yourself brand new, baby, I crow. It's spring. I feel light as an unfettered garbage bag, not anorexic, but unburdened. Eyes closed, I am sailing top down along a country road, my hair unruly in the wind, my trash abandoned long ago to the snow. Speaking of poet laureates, I've been thinking a lot about Diane de Prima. And I never studied poetry with her, though I'm a big fan. But I did study alchemy with her. And these two poems, interestingly, alchemy's kind of surfaced. And so this one is called I Wandered. Am I becoming spiritual or losing my mind? Demented or loving a world without prose, where clouds saunter lonely but never resigned, like elegant, swaying, silver-haired bros, inspired by ditzy daffodils, wild and gregarious, goofy, grinning, grandly hilarious, a wild revel, our world revived. Alchemically, all matter combines. What annoyed me once suddenly shines. Like your sparkling eyes, because we've survived. See, when I was young, I rushed to see new worlds that were in front of me. But if each of us is future blind, we think we know what we will find. Cloud-like we drift, clown-like we fall, until old, distilled, we're thrilled by all. And another alchemical one about how things come and go and come, I guess. This is called After the Eclipse. Everything disappears. Clouds, obsessions, alchemists. Leaving sweetens as it cuts. I watch as you pull on that tattered jacket, passing from my life like a stray cat. So kiss me now as the lie I told you evaporates like dew. Everything disappears. Clinging postpones the inevitable, but lingering can't disguise the turning point. I get antsy, push off, ta-ta, see ya. Everything disappears. Candles, back rubs, bourbon, lackadaisical or uptight. I loosen my grasp. Passion becomes memory. Everything disappears, carried off by the old what comes next, lightening the box of yarns I carry away. I wanted you to stay, didn't I? Everything disappears. Continue to believe we're the exception. Everything disappears, evaporates like dew. Soaring thought in a solo moment evaporates like dew. Purring like a golden cat sitting on my sewing basket as the morning chill evaporates like dew. I'm surprised you came back. Perhaps you want a drink. So together we relax as our fear evaporates like dew, light-hearted even. I thought it was over, and it's not. Pernod Prosecco pot. Such a strange and startling afternoon. Evaporates like dew. Come here, you say. I left without thinking. Laughing now because we thought it was done. It's not. We're woven and undone through passion. And when you were gone, I missed the flame so much I ached without you. May our wounds evaporate like dew. Evaporate like the dew, beloved of the alchemists, creating secret languages to describe each transformation, like the ornate tattoo inked into your back. It makes me want to mirror your every move. Pleasure is my spiritual path. So may the awkwardness of our lust evaporate like dew and nourish us till dawn. One more. This is called Poet on the Lam. Why do you write? You asked me as I was packing up. For the money, I said. But where do you find your inspiration? From the shape of the quarters, the ridges along the edges of a dime, the rustle of 50s, the way a $50 feels, solid and cold when it's placed over your eyes. I stuck my pencil behind my left ear. Very William Blake on the lamb. Between you and me, I admitted sheepishly, it's not the thought or the image, it's the words that pop up, like a stain on the carpet or a trail of ants who won't be persuaded to abandon the kitchen. A phrase whistles at me, and I waltz with it. Or better yet, a sound whispers in my ear, oh, sweet nothing. Why would anyone believe what they read in verse? A poem is a primo place to hide. In fact, this poem has nothing to do with me, except that I'm making it up. Like that girl we saw, dancing in a circle, arms aloft, thunder echoing in the mountains, golden poppies in her hair, forgetful eyes, not an idea in her head, but the rhythm of her soles. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Evie. Our next reader is Karen Hones. I met Karen the way I've met a lot of important people who I like very much through Paul Corman Roberts. Several of you just smiled and nodded, so I feel you know Paul Corman Roberts. So anyway, I've had the pleasure to hear fresh work, to provide prompts for writing, and experience both her masterful scones and her incredible poetry. Please welcome Karen to the microphone.
Is this good?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much, Kim. I love you and everything that you bring to all of our communities so much. And I'm going to read first from the book. My name is Karen Lee Hones. How Will I Die? And this is inspired by Judy Chicago's exhibit at the DeYoung a few years back called How Will I Die? Will I die in my lover's arms? Nope, all long gone. Will I die curled up with my cat? No, she was in too much pain. I had to put her down. Will I die the way I was born? No, twilight sleep's no longer in use. Will I die in a hospital hooked up to tubes? See healthcare proxy. The DNR is on the fridge. Will the Death with Dignity initiative come to mind when it's my time to go? Or will I die like my neighbor Frank, in a chair by the window after lunch? We'd pulled our clothes from the dryers the day before. He showed me how to fold a fitted sheet. Or will I die in a car or mowed down by a car? More likely the latter. I'm an aimless wanderer, flat-footed, head in the clouds. In driver's ed, the summer I was 16, Mr. Bender took over the steering wheel, said, "Karen, you don't anticipate." Thank you. And one of the subjects closest to my heart is women's health. So the next poem I'm going to read is called Choice. The test comes back positive. What to do this time when everything is different from last time? Anyone in her right mind would schedule the procedure, everyone says. That's what she did last time when it made perfect sense, though she'd had to fly to New York where it was legal. Chicago that bitter winter, Guillaume, the waiter, leaning close. More bread for you? Setting another warm roll beside the cup of soup. The next day she'd gone there again to get out of the cold. I am pretty, you are pretty, let's sleep together. Did she forget something? Her last period, was it Christmas, New Year's? 21 then, squeaking by. The last thing she needed was a kid. Poland, the doctor told her when she asked where he was from. You were better than I thought you'd be, he said when it was over. This time her money's just sitting there, earmarked for Italy. This man, the one she had to have, says, you know what to do, hastily pulls on his jeans, laces up his running shoes, lays a crisp $100 bill on the dresser. She'll decide when she's ready. And the next piece is called Stepping Out of the Shadow. How happy I am today. I've just come from the doctor. She stayed at the computer, but looked right in my eyes long enough to say, the mammogram shows that the area in front where I found the cancer is clear. Later in the yard, I share the good news with my sis as we play ball with the dog. You're so lucky, she says. That's my new through line, I reply. That's my new life. But I do remember the darkness. I remember when all I knew was to want a drink. All I craved was to disappear into it. I couldn't imagine I'd go to a better place where I'd find a strange light in dull rooms rented for a song in the basements of churches. I'd sit in back, and somebody'd give me an inch of warmth or a yard of personal and peaceful space. And look at me now. Okay, this is a piece called Borrowing a Line from Joy Harjo. Some have been drinking and intimate with strangers. That's a wonderfully plain and understated way of saying what goes on. Who hasn't changed out of confining clothes after work and headed for a bar? And what are we looking for? A drink? Yes, possibly, but usually a bottomless drink that grows powerful and opens a door, does what it's supposed to do, releases our inhibitions. And night ends with a stranger, clothes pooling on the floor. I'm not going to say I don't like that, because I do. I have a big carnal appetite, and I like variety. Maybe it's from living in the city. These days, though, I don't go looking for love. I'm in a relationship. His name's Vlad, and he's been hanging out on my balcony since the spring. He poses on the railing in the southwest corner facing the ocean. We talk. We don't go too deep, though. At some point, he flies off. At twilight, I see him with the other crows gathering across the street on the roof of the high school, cawing excitedly as they decide where they're going to sleep. They need to settle somewhere before it gets dark. Crows are very intelligent, but they don't have good night vision. In the morning, Vlad senses my approach and stares through the window. I make coffee, slip into flip-flops, and pad out to check on things. It's nice at 5:30, quiet except for the garbage trucks and an occasional siren. When I go back in, Vlad takes off. I'm a little worried because I haven't seen him for a couple days. I'm wondering if it's because I have had 2 guys working in the bathroom to fix a leak. Diego shut off the water and tore out the tile backsplash, and Gerardo is installing the new pipes. I don't know how Vlad knows they're here. You can't see the bathroom from the balcony, and of course Vlad isn't allowed inside. Perhaps he senses the men some other way. Have you ever noticed how territorial males are? Thank you very much.
Our next poet and I regularly see each other about once a year and make each other laugh so hard in front of an audience that we do the laugh version of cry talking and probably become completely incomprehensible to others. Cheryl Bizet-Boutet, please come to this mic.
Thank you, Kim, for inviting me. And thank you to the editors of Women in a Golden State for including my poem in this wonderful anthology. And Kim, you know when we get together, the audience disappears.
Yeah,
All right. Okay. This poem is called Pieces. The pieces are all there. They just don't fit together like they used to. They were once consolidated, rimmed with borders. Now there are spaces in between, with ambiguous, bottomless depths, with copious slivers of sunshine. I remember the times they fell haphazardly, disconnected. I tried to gather them and place them where they belonged. Now, I sometimes throw them into the thickened air and watch them fall into new patterns, into new beginnings. The next 2 poems I'm going to read, one each from 2 books of poetry that I've written with my daughter, who, it's amazing that she even agreed to write poems with me since she is a neuroscientist and doesn't really think about all this poetry, prose stuff that much, but she got into it. The first one I'm going to read is called Layered Life. The screeching doorman at the luxury high-rise has no jurisdiction over the public sidewalk where the homeless man paces back and forth in the unforgiving, climate-changed, intense sun, waiting for his DoorDash delivery. Adorned in 4 layers of clothing, his iPhone is fully charged. His Venmo is still funded. The irony of his presence on that falsely reserved path is an annoyance for some, while for him, it is an address for guaranteed results. Back and forth he walks, stopping now and then to take in the beauty of the building he now harasses. And like every other day, finally finding the window that used to give him a view to the outside. Back when he ran from room to room and paid no attention when Mom yelled out, "If you keep stomping around and slamming those doors, the cake will fall." This one is called I Know, I Know. Let me just mention, I like to have fun with poetry too. I don't like always to be serious. Okay. My stars are aligned like my Excel cells. You may think I don't know, but you really can't tell. Don't let the baby boom fool you. Ba-boom, ba-boom. You don't know me that well. I have face recognition. I recognize my face. I belong wherever I am. I am never out of place. I know phone numbers, domestic, overseas, and toll-free. If you're inclined to call me ma'am, then don't bother to call me. My calendar is on my computer with a Filofax backup. I'm a silver fox with minimum makeup. My mama's CB handle was Silver Streak. My daddy's was Backdoor. A CB is a radio, yet kinda like a Bluetooth from the good before. I can order from the menu or cook it myself. I have pots and pans and spices on the shelf. I know my forks, knives, spoons, paid my napkin folding dues. I know my tabletop decor. I know my less, I know my more. I create, I give, I take, I soar. I can dial, I can push, I can poke, I can swipe. I know my left is not the same as my always right. If I forget you, you did not make an impression, or you did, and it was in the wrong direction. If I remember you, it is because I wanted to. I can call, I can text, I can almost always tell what's coming next. I can speak words, I know quite a few. I can write them, I can read them, and listen to them too. I can dance, I dip, I'm an ice cream eating chick. I am pie, I am fresh fruit, I am Tylenol and apple juice. I drive fast, I skip, my walk is a fast clip, I can load one too. I know my calibers, I know my way home. And by now, it should be apparent, I know my way around a poem. Thank you.
Yes, you do. Our next poet, what to say about you. I think the first time we read together, my father was telling a story about how he told me that when I went to school and told him I wasn't going to be a translator, that I was going to be a poet, he said, I'm not going to pay to educate a poet. And it was in a poetry reading. So he's now getting side-eye from like 25 poets. It's like, Dad, read the room. And Ma just kind of looked at me and went, which is exactly the only response to it. Ma is punk and eloquent and just a really good hang. Welcome, Ma Shane-Win, to the microphone.
Well, and I'd also like to say that Kim Shuck is an old punk rocker, too. I think we all know that. So great to be here, and thank you, SFPL. Thank you, Kim, for bringing us together. And yeah, I'll begin with my poem from the anthology. All right, can you hear me okay? Yeah. Catalog. Apply anti-itch cream on scar as if no one is looking. Message from Dropbox that storage is full. Jot down floating weeds, breakaway props. Worry about mom in hospital. Doctor draining 1.5 liters of fluid from her lungs. Look up meaning of shim, then wild wall. Make ginger tea, search pink vintage A-line dress. Text friend who can't move from bed. Buy dark chocolate sunflower buttercups. Read about latest drive-by shooting. Snip dead daisy petals. Think of my students in Yangon, unable to leave their homes. Note number of white hairs falling on black sweater. Remember found nest on last week's walk. Write on back of envelope. Grief broke up visions of ourselves. Thank you. So As someone who is terrible at math, I have to say I am obsessed with counting syllables these days. So I'm working on a new series of poems. They're all 8 lines, but in addition to the 8 lines, I'm adding 2, sometimes 3 additional constraints. And at first I was going to tell you the constraints, but I was like, no, that's boring, so I'll just read it. Okay, so this is one of them. It's called Tub. Those trips and slips bring her older self down. Bandage on the ankle, bandage round head. She flipped in bed all night, sipped from water glass, dipped in a dreamscape, recalled a past fall, licked a cold cone, chocolate, vanilla, helped ease the pain as focus moved to mouth. Right leg up on pillow, book at her side. Tried to ride the time, then cried in the tub. Thank you. And this one is entitled Prayer. We didn't grow up celebrating Christmas, yet we wanted. We were raised Buddhists, monks meditating in our home. My sister and I complained to our parents, that isn't fair. My brother cried as he had wanted new cowboy boots. We finally got our first one. I was 7, small tree. We were Burmese. We didn't know how to do it right. My mother baked a duck, made garlic noodles, Waldorf salad. My father drank his vodka, read loudly the Lord's Prayer. Thanks. And this is my last one. And I left it in the printer at home, so I can't believe I'm reading on my phone. I've never done this before. It's so exciting. I feel like one of the young ones. Okay, so this is my last poem. Okay, it's called Time. Same part of the same series. We all had crooked bangs back then, when we'd cut them ourselves or our sisters would. Sometimes we'd cry when we'd look in the mirror. We'd mirror each other's moves as we danced around. When we sang, we'd laugh at our songs, sometimes on key, but usually off. Would forget about the crooked bangs when we'd snap our fingers all at the same time. Thanks, everyone.
I told you, eloquent and punk. Our next reader. It gets harder. It's hard to introduce somebody when you don't know them, and it's hard to introduce somebody when you know them really, really well. So Caroline Goodwin and I would say, are very good friends. We do movie night. I'm not going to tell you what we watch because it's all pretty cheeseball. We have equally terrible taste in first-run movies. And the first time I heard her work was a really awkward poetry reading, and she sort of leaned over and was like, I'm glad to finally meet you. And I went, I'm glad to finally meet you too. And she blew me totally away with her reading. And that has happened over and over the years now. Please welcome to this microphone, Caroline Goodwin.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And to the other amazing women, I gotta take my readers off, I can't see you. Thank you for sharing the stage. I'm so happy to meet new friends, people who I've seen online and seen in person over the years. And Poem Jam is so special. It's such a labor of love, and Kim is so good at bringing us together over and over again, yeah. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this beautiful, important anthology. I mean, books, they matter. And I wanted to find a really lovely quote from one of Kim's essays that compares a poem to a cobweb, which is, we may think of cobwebs as being sort of out of the way and sort of maybe not all that important, but they can stop bleeding. They're very powerful material. So I just feel grateful that my poetry practice has brought me here to Poem Jam again, because it's kind of crazy out there. And it's really a comfort to hear and to just be a part of. I'm gonna start my little watch. So yeah, I'll read the strange poem from the anthology. I've been thinking about my mom. I have a pretty difficult relationship with her. She's gonna be 90 next month. And in 1922, her parents moved from a small town in Iowa to Sitka, Alaska. They were Presbyterian missionaries, and I loved them very much. And but, finding ways to sort of come to terms with that legacy has been, really a healing journey for me. So this is, you might interpret as being kind of about that Southeast Alaska place. Actually, is it better or not? I can't tell. Oh, I have to hold it up like this. Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you. Glaze, herring gull, anemone, barnacle, and sponge. Was the music of tides, was a grace note. Miracle glitter, coating the docks, the hulls of the boats, was dawn, leaning. Grandfather clock in the parlor, and the mid-December light struggles into the room. Gold, a great faithfulness. Hush, said the humpback, hush, the black horn, this is the law. That he is clothed with majesty, that whosoever believeth shall not perish. Behind your eyes, the tiny green crabs clicked and skittered. Was a reputation, a raven wing, a shadow crossing the street. Sister, alleyway, sister, gravesite, that which covered your hair, in the rib cage, an amulet of thorns. So that's Glaze from the anthology. Thank you. And then this book came out during the pandemic, Madrigals. I put some copies of my weird little square business card over there in case you want to grab one, and I would love to put one in the mail to you. It has my collage work in it, and I'll just read a couple from Madrigals. Knock there. I ask, what truth? And then I think to cry out. The myriad leaves of the willow, the different types of wool. At the solstice, you remind me of king salmon, slick and a little cruel. A long sheet of ice falls away. There are silver scales in the garden path, an image of you lighting the tree, and my good companions, four-legged or winged, take off quickly. Kettle, ivory tusk, mandolin, every pillbug rolled up into a world, every bead, dark spikes underneath the thistle. I ask again, what truth? And then I think to cry out. Nothing opens of itself, no bright fish or blue ghost. At the bitter end, of course, it's just me. Thank you. Fireweed. I walked right out through the gate you left after the rain folded back, and that which gave permission also bestowed the burden. So many nights without you, one would think I'd be accustomed by now, and the book of signs would be a solace, not an arrow. To see them unwrap me, the talkiness, the risen loaves. In Yellowknife, a woman cuts and lifts her own wrist. The green dawn, the decorated quiver, arsenic. And she is my hero, my friend, with the leaves at her eyes, her mud mouth packed with shoots, the only true sign of spring, that everlasting, inky shadow. If I could hunt you down, my love, the white sky behind the cypress, or the overgrown hedge, if the hedge would just offer up all its berries, if at dawn I could receive the faraway surf or anything with feathers. There would, of course, be rose thorns and recognition and gold at the crown of my head. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's see, I will finish with axe. There we go. I could hear it ringing in the valley, on the backs of the leaves, the Labrador tea. Afternoons I spent in the meadow, girl bent at the waist, and a chorus of wood frogs, the evening the sky split, you and your wrist bones, your palm prints. Even after this many nights, it comes as a surprise. Something is always slicing through, always the sacrifice, the offering at the feet, stirring the dogwood, the candle, a silver flame. At the meadow's edge, the shining blade. Thank you for your attention and have a beautiful night. And yay, I'm so happy so many silver foxes in the room. That's my favorite. That's my favorite expression, the silver fox.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting to see more women just letting it go gray, you know. It never occurred to me to dye it, but then my mother was a hippie, and when I had to get dressed for my prom, there was there was a moment where we were both sitting there staring at the mascara wand on the table, poking at it a little bit. She had no better idea than I did about what to do with that thing. For years and years, I was asked how long I'd known Molly Fisk, and we had never met. And you know when that happens, not just once but repeatedly, that there's some kind of epic reason for that. So we met each other the first time. We had to go all the way to Washington, D.C. to do it. We met there and exchanged a double handful of words, and I went, oh, I get it. I get it now. We come from very different places and say a lot of the same kinds of things in very different ways. And that's why people, I think, kept asking. It is just thrilling to have her down here to read a poem jam. Please welcome to the microphone, Molly Fisk.
Can I take your picture? May I? May I take your picture? All right, everybody say Villanelle. Thank you. It depends on the audience. Sometimes I make them say cunnilingus, but those are usually high school students. I was a little misinformed by perhaps myself and thought we were reading all the poems we wanted to read from this one fabulous anthology. So I'm going to read 4 from here. 1 is mine and 3 are from other people. $5 to Planned Parenthood, gunpowderpress.com. If you want this book, that's a good place to buy it. All through March, which is Women's History Month, which is one reason we're here. We're so historical. My poem is called Smelling Late Summer. The last peaches and a cardboard half pint of golden raspberries, 10 figs, 4 heirloom tomatoes, a ridiculous name really in these times when legacy advantages are so maligned. But the flavor of them cancels that out entirely. Basil gathered into bouquets, each with a rubber band. I will need pesto in December and March just to survive the weather. This basket Barbara gave me from Oaxaca that everyone admires, sturdy weave and sturdier handle, both longer lasting than the near miss marriage to her son. a mid-shop shuffle to bring soft fruits up and lay corn and onions lower down with the cucumbers, because I never know what I'll want until I see it and don't think about the different weights. I don't think much. I'm smelling late summer over neighborly chatter and listening to guitar arpeggios wafting up the slope from the bookstore patio. Beautiful mushrooms I would never cook or eat, small ambrosia melons from the valley, all kinds of meat. I should probably become a vegetarian. Walnuts, local olive oil and honey, salmon and shellfish driven here from the coast in a cool pre-dawn dark. While the farmers pack lugs into their trucks, the new parents are again awake. And some of the eldest of us sip our coffee, watch stars fade out, and wait for the towhee's first whistle. I never imagined I would live this long. Everyone else is dreaming. We forgot to tell you that I drove here from Nevada City. That's the location of that farmer's market on one block of York Street. This is Gail Newman's poem, A Floor Above the Kitchen. I came to old age, which is a floor above the kitchen, where someone is boiling water for tea. I came to another season of war, bloodshed all over the news. I came to my heart, still beating, heavy with years. Deer came to the garden, heads bent to the flowers. Bees circled my head, the fox red and flashing like a flag, a warning. I came to a time without thinking, the past receding like a landscape outside the window of a train. And this is Sage by Amy Bates. If I have you in every room of this house, a place long benighted, will I then be able to pass my hand over counterpane and countertop, over grandma's chair, this wall, this windowsill, like Queen Christina lingering at every fresh memory made? Can I ignite you, burn you as a tight bundle of green sage, trail your cleansing volatile smoke slowly, deliberately, a skein of dark silk, transparent, astringent, chasing out what was, opening to the scent of rain. And this is Lisa Rosenberg's poem, Citrus, by which I mean the blossom, not the fruit, by which I mean the scent and not the sight, by which I mean nostalgia, its sudden bite, as if a tree, a patio, a street. The way the concrete had a fragrance, the concrete and the asphalt and the quiet, tiny yards. Because the windows and the curtains, because the timber of a passing car, and how the dampness of the grass in which I meant to pause, or when the stippled light on stucco walls, because a slow forgetting, by which I mean the acrid with the sweet. So now we're going to have a brief advertisement. This is a new book that isn't coming out till April 7th, but I had 300 copies mailed to me. I wrote it myself. There's no photograph, you're going to have to believe me. It's my first book of poetry in 15 years. And if I had known that, I would have written one sooner, but I wasn't paying attention. And it's a novel in verse. And I didn't want it to be a novel. I'd never have called it a novel myself. The publicity people think it's a novel. Because in novels, you have to have conflict, and I didn't want any conflict. So nothing bad happens in this book. And it's set in 1875, and it's about two people who got married and went somewhere and sort of started building their own life. And after I wrote it, I suddenly realized that they must have been teenagers, And I wasn't writing about teenagers, I was writing about people. But mothers and fathers have said to me after they've looked at parts of the book, this is about teenagers. So I don't know if you thought it was about teenagers. People got married back then when they were 17, 16, 15, 19, teens. Anyway, it's called Walking Wheel, and that's a kind of spinning wheel. And I wrestled with my publishers about the cover quite a lot, because I believe they were putting AI pictures in front of me, and they kept putting, first they had oxen, there aren't any oxen in the book, and then they had mules, because I said, come on, there aren't even any oxen in the book, there are mules. And then they put mules on the cover. They were thinking about the Western expansion, which was the generation before these people. These people came down from Oregon to Cedarville, which is up in the tiniest northeastern corner of California. You can see Oregon and Nevada right there in front of you. Anyway, I'm not giving $5 to Planned Parenthood because I hadn't thought of it yet. But if you want to, you can find this book. Thank you, madam.
Can you read a little bit of it?
Yeah, you have time for a poem.
Have you ever thought of trying to take one poem out of a book that's novels? Where are my glasses? They're there. Oh, fuck you. Or neener, neener, I guess is what you're supposed to say. This is a book, I mean, it has sex, it has menstruation, and it has actual childbirth in this book. And I haven't had any kids, so I had to interview all kinds of people about it, and I got a lot of hilarious information. But really, it's about hard work. And some of that stuff I knew. I'm trying to find one particular thing. I know how to make a lot of stuff. My grandparents were all, do this, do that, and I learned a lot of stuff. And now I watch people not know what on earth they're doing. It's very strange. Where is this poem called Supper? See, this is the problem. But this is also, I'm starting a book tour tomorrow. It's a soft opening, as they say. There it is, page 70. My brother lives in a retirement community. My younger brother has had a lot of problems, not for his mind, but for his body. And he lives down, and somehow we got him into a very fancy place in Mountain View. That's quite Catholic, I believe. So sometimes he tells me he goes to Mass. The rest of us are lapsed Unitarians. Anyway, I'm going down there to read from this book as my first soft opening for the book tour. But I haven't figured out how to do it yet, so that's why I'm a little awkward up here. Supper. He sits on the bed to take his boots off, watching her at the stove. A pinch of salt, a stir, the way her arms reach toward things with such confidence, gesture, second nature, or all nature, a heron plucking a fish out of the creek, fox leaping for his mouse. The slight sway of her hips moving from stove to shelf to table, and how smoothly what she thinks of becomes true. She makes him feel enormous and clumsy, thick fingers at the laces, pulling socks over his ankles, flexing his toes. She's a finch to my ox, he thinks. Although every inch of her is precious to him now, he best likes the small of her back, that curve as beautiful as any tool he's used, any first snow drifted over a fence of his childhood when snow was glory. It's an idea of an ox. It's not an actual ox.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Evie. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Caroline. And thank you, Molly. Please give another round of applause for our features. Also for yourselves for being a great audience, because there's no point in doing shows. Honestly, applaud yourself. Do it. It's good. It's good for your heart. Thank you, John, for being my partner in this enterprise for these many years now. Thank you, Mike, and I no longer see, I don't see your partner, but he was around here earlier. And thank you to the San Francisco Public Library for letting me continue to do this without asking me to edit any of the poets. I have never, ever, and we have said some things at this microphone, had anybody clap back on me for any of that from the library. Sometimes the audience is displeased, but the library never has been, so thank you to that. See you again soon, I hope.